The American diplomat's wife, who fled the UK after allegedly killing a British teenage boy by driving on the wrong side of the road, has been identified amid an international row over whether or not she should be forced to return to England to be charged in his death. Anne Sakoulas, 42, is a Virginian native who had been living in the UK with her husband Jonathan and their family for just 3 weeks when she allegedly struck 19-year-old Harry Dunn with her car on August 27. Jonathan was working at RAF Croton in Northamptonshire. It is being used by the USS spying station called the Joint Intelligence Analysis Center. Harry was driving his motorcycle and Sakoulas, according to his parents, was hit head-on by Sakoulas after she drove 400 yards on the wrong side of the road after leaving the base on August 27. Sakoulas initially cooperated with British police but in September was put on a plane with her family to return to the US once it became apparent that she may be charged in the boy's death. It is unclear where she and her family are now. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson said on Monday that he would personally ask President Trump to intervene. The White House has not yet indicated how it intends to act. Sakoulas' husband Jonathan is understood to have been working at RAF Croton, a known U.S. spy base. Their children attended the $30,000 a year private school, where Dunn's father worked as head of maintenance. She is understood to have had her eldest child in the car with her when the crash happened. DailyMail.com has learned that she was cited in 2006 for not paying enough attention while driving in Fairfax County, Virginia. The Sakoulas' home, located on a tree-lined road of large properties in rural Virginia, was quiet on Monday morning. Handwritten signs had been taped at the entrance to the driveway, reading, "No media, no soliciting, no trespassing. We are renters, and not who you are looking for." A neighbor across the street told DailyMail.com that she had seen moving trucks at the home a while back. Another local told DailyMail.com that he had believed he had seen a moving van at the home around 3 weeks ago. "I've only ever seen them once or twice, but I get the feeling that they were probably moving out, but I don't know anything about them." "I think they had been living there for about a year. I know that they have a couple of kids, but I only saw them once or twice and never saw them interact with anyone in the neighborhood." "I would hear the kids yelling and screaming and doing what kids do, making noise." A 2015 property listing showed that Jonathan and Anne Sakoulas had purchased the home from John Raymond and Barbara Rochewill for $770,000. Anne Wickramritton, the Sakoulas' former neighbor in Reston, Virginia, told Daily Mail. "They were the best neighbors and they are so good. I'm so sorry this happened to them." But I do understand. I wish they had stayed in the UK until their name was clear, because when you move, it's going to cause more problems. It was an accident, but justice has to be served. It broke my heart this morning. The neighbor said that Jonathan worked as a government contractor and Anne stayed home. They were very quiet, and I think they were very religious too. They are Christians. They didn't harm anybody. We never had a problem with them. My lawnmower broke, and I took it to Jonathan and he fixed it. They were so kind and helpful. Anne liked to garden, and Jonathan's parents have a nursery. They were not very close to the neighbors. They were friendly, but they didn't socialize. He liked to fix things and do things in the house and the yard. They kept to themselves, but they went out with the family. But if you talked, they were very friendly people, but they are shy. They were very quiet. I met their older son before they moved to Australia for 3 years. He was only about 2 years old. The little boy was very polite, and then they ended up having 3 kids. She said the couple had moved to Australia in 2015, and when they had returned, sold their home in Reston and moved a few miles away to Vienna because they preferred the school district. When they were gone, some other government workers, a couple with dogs, rented their house. When they came back from Australia, they put the house up for sale, and they told me they were moving to Vienna because they found a bigger place. That's when we lost contact with them. On Monday, Harry's parents did a tour of US media outlets to plead their case. They told Today they were appalled and disgusted that Sakulas had not been forced to answer questions and said the process has left them unable to grieve their son's death. We've got no answers. We've got nothing from her to say that she's remorseful. We are appalled. We're disgusted. We haven't started to grieve properly yet because nothing's at rest, his mother Charlotte Charles said. In another interview with CBS, she said, "She killed our boy. If it wasn't for her being under this supposed diplomatic immunity, it would have been a clear-cut case. We'd have had justice by now." The U.S. Embassy has refused to grant Northamptonshire police a waiver to interview Sakulas as a suspect. According to a lawyer retained by the Dunn family, Jonathan Sakulas was working at RAF Broughton, a communications base. He was working with intelligence, which is, I guess, why it has been handled in the way that it has, the lawyer said. As anger over the actions intensified, Harry's mother called on Prime Minister Boris Johnson to get on the phone to President Donald Trump. She told the Daily Mail, "We would ask Boris Johnson himself, if he hasn't already, to call President Trump and urged him to right this wrong. It's inhumane what has happened to us. Please. I'm begging you. Please help us. We won't be able to grieve and move on and try put the pieces of our shattered lives together until we get justice for Harry. In early 1994, the US and UK governments struck a deal that all those working in RAF Croton and their families would have diplomatic protection. The broadcaster also report that Sagoulas has not returned to her home in the US. Sky also say that very soon after the crash, Sagoulas made it known that she had diplomatic immunity, but police had the impression she was willing to cooperate, so they applied to get the immunity waived. However, they found that she had left. It was then that they found out that someone at the US Embassy advised her and her family to return to the US. Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab has called on the US ambassador to reconsider the decision, but it is understood so far his appeals have been refused. The government says it is doing everything it can, but Harry's mother said she feared her son's death would be swept under the carpet. The mother, who works in a doctor's practice, said her family, including Harry's twin brother Niall, were devastated and heartbroken, but had been totally deprived of the ability to grieve. Asked what message she would give the American woman, she said, "Please just come back." "We want to talk to you and understand how you are feeling about what happened. Please come back and face the consequences of your actions." "It will be better for us both." In a direct appeal to President Trump, she added, "Sit back and look back at the case." "Consider not just the politics side of it, but the fact there is a completely broken family." She said for weeks after the crash on August 27, no one from the Ministry of Defense or RAF Croton had been in contact. "We've just been left." Harry, who worked at a gas station, was an avid motorcyclist with more than 50,000 miles under his belt. His family said he was a highly experienced, safe and capable rider who was riding perfectly safely. Traveling on his own side of the road when he was in collision with the woman's Volvo. His family said they had been told the woman had been traveling for 400 yards on the wrong side of the road. Emergency services were called, but Harry had suffered multiple injuries and was pronounced dead in hospital. It is understood Sagoulas, a mother of three, had her eldest child in the car with her at the time. Harry's father Tim Dunn received a call from a firefighter at the scene who was a family friend and recognized Harry. It is unclear what time of day the crash occurred. He added, "We didn't get to see him before they lost him." His injuries were horrific. They had done all they could. Sakulas was spoken to the next day by police when she told officers she had no plans to leave the UK in the near future. The Northamptonshire force said during the meeting diplomatic immunity had been raised as an issue. Officers then sought to obtain a waiver from the U.S. Embassy, which is required to allow for the arrest and formal interview of a suspect with diplomatic immunity. But the force said it was later informed that the waiver had been refused and the woman had left the country despite the fact that officers had been preparing to send a file to the Crown Prosecution Service over charges of causing death by dangerous driving. The family were informed the day after Harry's funeral on September 18. Harry's family believed she was spirited out of the UK quickly as her husband is a spy, and because US authorities wanted to ensure his identity was not compromised. The US State Department refused to answer questions on the case, but said immunity is rarely waived. Harry's mother said, if necessary, the family would travel to the US to seek answers. They are also considering a civil claim for compensation against the State Department or from the insurers of the woman's vehicle. Defense expert Stephen Lanyard, a retired U.S. colonel, said, once a claim of diplomatic immunity is made and a person has left the country, there is very little that can be done to bring them back.